Another season of NFL Power Rankings. We're so back. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Packers are number one. They have Micah Parsons. They're going to win the Super Bowl. No bias. Grossi. And today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams heading into week one of the NFL season. That's right. It feels like we just did this post-draft power rankings, but that was months ago. And in 2 days' time, the real NFL season begins, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not ready, but I'm also excited. Let's start off with our honorable mentions, and these teams, I'm putting them not in the top 10, but I'm not gonna be Brandon Perna and put 18 teams on here, but they're sniffing it, right? So the first is going to be the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are coming in as an honorable mention, and mostly because of their defense. What they've done on offense, I really like, and if Bo Nix is that guy, they should have a really good season. But the defense is getting all the headlines right now for the Broncos, and rightfully so. Not only do you have PS2 in the secondary, but you also get Jahdae Barron in the draft. You get Hufanga, and if he's healthy, it's going to be crazy. You got Greenlaw, you got Bonito. They got everybody on that defense, and that defense is already pretty damn good last year. Now, of course, getting RJ Harvey and hopefully having a run game that they did not have with Javonte Williams, at least consistently, and the addition of Evan Ingram, because I gotta be honest, I couldn't even tell you who the tight end for the Broncos was last year. This should make for a more productive offense, and like I said, if they're a balanced football team or that offense is anywhere near the defense, they should be a pretty damn good team this year. Then on my second honorable mention, I'm gonna list the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, yeah, of course, moving on from Kirk Cousins, and by moving on, I mean he's just not starting anymore. He's still on the team, costing you a lot of money, and he is available to trade. Someone please call the Falcons. But the Falcons are heading into this year with Michael Penix Jr., or another name if you're a certain broadcast. But they're heading in with a great run game with Bijan Robinson. They, of course, have the receivers in Drake London. And hell, even Darnell Mooney, he's pretty good too. And, of course, you have Kyle Pitts. We'll see if he actually shows up. And that secondary for the Falcons, now with the additional pass rushers, who knows? Maybe they're a complete football team who won't blow the lead to the Buccaneers this upcoming season. I think on paper, they have a pretty good roster, and they're in a winnable division. Their main rival is going to be the Buccaneers. And with Tristan Wirfs missing a couple of games, maybe this will be the Falcons' season to actually win the South. But we have to actually see them play, hence the honorable mention. And finally, you got the purple incarnation of Satan. The Satans, well, they are getting an honorable mention for a lot of reasons. One, their defense has improved massively under Brian Flores. I like the additions that they did in both sides of the ball in the trenches during this offseason, and it's really just going to come down to J.J. McCarthy. Jordan Addison, of course, is facing a bit of a suspension, but he'll be back after a few games. Justin Jefferson's one of the best wide receivers in the game. And besides Aaron Jones, you also got Jordan Mason, who was pretty damn good for the 49ers. And so the supporting cast for the Vikings is really damn solid. Now, they are in a division that should be super competitive this year, and while they did win 14 games last year, and that is going to be a tough marker to try and get back to, if J.J. McCarthy is even an above-average quarterback, they're going to win some damn football games. And so for the Vikings, I'm putting them as an honorable mention because we just have to see J.J. McCarthy have meaningful snaps in the NFL, and from there, we'll see if they're able to climb the power rankings, but I hope they don't. And now let's get into the top 10, starting off with the kitty goes meow Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals. What an offseason, huh, guys? The Bengals front office signed Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. And to everyone else,
if any of you need anything at all, too bad. Deal with your problems yourselves like adults.
they have no more money, bye-bye. But talking about the Bengals, there's a lot to talk about. Their team last year, of course, disappointing, did not make the postseason. Joe Burrow put together a phenomenal year. There is a ton of hype behind Chase Brown and having that run game. And of course, bringing back T. Higgins and Jamar Chase should make them one of the most explosive offenses in football. Then you look at the defense, and that's where there's a lot to be desired. Of course, drafting Shamar Stewart, we'll see if he's going to be able to make an immediate impact. They did bring back Trey Hendrickson, even if it's just for this year, just giving him more money, and he is obviously a difference maker. He had the majority of their sacks last season, and heading into this year, the Bengals are just looking to avoid a slow start like they've had for the past couple of seasons and look more like the team they did in December rather than they did in September. The problem with the Bengals is nobody knows if their defense actually got better. They got a new defensive coordinator, but it remains to be seen if they're going to be greatly improved from last season. Now, that all being said, the Bengals are still a dangerous football team, even with a not so great defense. We talked about Joe Burrow on that offense, and they can put up 40 points a game. It's just going to be a matter of, do they have to this year? And if they get off to a slow start, considering the conference they're in and considering the amount of money they just poured into all these contracts, this is kind of a win now team, but I don't know if they have the defense to actually do that. However, I will say about the Bengals that if they make the postseason, which is a long ways from now, they will still be one of the more dangerous teams in football, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of opponents that want to play the Cincinnati Bengals. And so with that being said, the offense is so damn good. It's basically a juggernaut. I got to put them at number 10. And for the defense, that remains to be seen. Number 9, you got the LA Rams. The Rams, they had themselves an offseason as well. Not only did they get Devontae Adams, but Rams fans have to hear every single day about Matthew Stafford's back.
Pour me something tall and strong, make it a hurricane before I go insane.
Yeah, I think Rams fans are losing their minds a little bit. But talking about the Rams last year, of course, they went to the divisional round against the Eagles, and it was a pretty darn close game. Jared Verse absolutely tore it up last season, and it was really impressive to watch, making that pass rush one of the best in the NFL. And ultimately, for the Rams, it's going to depend on Matthew Stafford and his health. As I mentioned before, getting Devontae Adams, I think, is going to be great alongside Puka Nacua. And if that offense is able to have a consistent run game this year, they should be favored to win the NFC West. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see what Stafford's long-term health looks like, but ultimately I'm pretty damn high on the Rams. The back thing is making me a little bit nervous, and no, I'm not talking about the Micah Parsons thing. Nice try. But ultimately the Rams are coming in at number 9, and like I said, if Matthew Stafford, yep. But ultimately the Rams come in at number 9, and please beat the 49ers and the Seahawks. Just, because of history. Number 8, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, whoo! They were a fun team last year. Unfortunately, Chris Godwin got injured. Mike Evans had been dealing with some injuries as well last year, but they were still able to make it to the postseason. However, the scriptwriter could not save them from the Commanders.
I ate your cookies.
But the Buccaneers last season under Baker Mayfield were looking real damn good. Bucky Irving emerged and made that run game really successful. On top of that, they drafted another wide receiver in Igbuka, who should be really damn good, especially with McMillan being out. I've been talking about him this entire offseason and how NFL ready he is. I know he's launching up in fantasy drafts right now because of his value. And depending on Chris Godwin's injury, he could find himself really quickly in that wide receiver 2 slot right behind Mike Evans. And taking a look at that defense, while I do still have some questions long-term about their pass rush, they should be a pretty damn balanced football team. And taking a look at the division that they're in, it is very, very winnable. We were talking about the Falcons earlier, and like I said, their main competition is going to be the Buccaneers. If Baker Mayfield can have another great season once again, I think the Buccaneers should win that division. They should be able to make it to the postseason. And then from there, who knows? Maybe the Buccaneers surprise some people. Number 7, you got the Washington Commanders. The Commanders. Oh man, what an offseason they've been having. 1, it's yet another year without Dan Snyder, so it's always a good one. And 2, they made up with Scary Terry, and all is right in the world.
You're putting too much pressure on yourself, Scary Terry. You're perfectly scary enough as it is.
Oh yeah, and Micah Parsons is also out of the division. For the Commanders, of course, they have insanely high expectations heading into this season after making the NFC Championship game last year. They were able to knock off the Lions in the divisional round, who many said were one of the best teams in the NFC, and unfortunately then they got run over by Saquon Barkley and the Eagles. And heading into this season, of course, they made some additions on the offense like Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil. Hopefully that offense offensive line should be even better than it was last season. And while they did trade away Brian Robinson, they seem to be very confident in that young backfield, the young part, of course, being anybody but Austin Eckler. But Eckler showed that he could still go last season. And of course, for the Commanders, what they're trying to do is get to the Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. Jaden Daniels was phenomenal last year, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do this season, especially if he's able to beat the Bears with a Hail Mary again. But ultimately, with a difficult schedule ahead, and on top of that, at least a competitive division, that might be a little bit difficult for the Commanders to do. I still see them finishing around second place in the NFC East, but hey, they impressed everybody last year, and if they make it to the postseason again, maybe they'll go on a run. Number 6, you got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. The Packers. Who am I kidding, man? I still can't believe that we got Micah frickin' Parsons.
It's beautiful. I've looked at this for 5 hours now.
And the way that I was looking at the Packers before the Parsons trade was I see them as a playoff team, and then maybe they can get on a hot streak, or maybe they don't have to play the Philadelphia Eagles, who should still be one of the best teams in the NFC, and maybe they can make it to a Super Bowl. Now, with the addition of Micah Parsons, this is a game changer. This makes the secondary better. This makes the pass rush significantly better. And yes, while he is dealing with some back issues, 1, he had to pass a physical before signing with the Green Bay Packers, and 2, nobody on the team seems worried about it whatsoever. And so while they might take a little bit longer to ramp Micah Parsons up and get him in in-season shape, I have pretty little doubt that the Packers should be contenders this year. You take a look on the offense, the Packers got additional protection. Jordan Morgan has looked really good this offseason. Of course, they brought in Aaron Banks from the 49ers as well. While Marshawn Lloyd did get injured again, and that is very unfortunate, he shouldn't be out too long. And speaking of injured players, Christian Watson, he looks like he's going to be making a return sooner rather than later, maybe even after the first month. And so ultimately for the Packers, this is going to come down to Jordan Love and his consistency. We've seen the very top of his potential and how good he can look, but he needs to be able to be more consistent with the football. On top of that, his receivers need to stop dropping the football. First round pick Matthew Golden should be able to help with that, who's looked really impressive in camp, but heading into this season, there's a lot of potential. We talked about this last year and the potential of the young wide receivers. That really didn't come to fruition. This year, with the addition of Micah Parsons, I believe very strongly that the Packers are going to be a great football team. However, we just need to see it. And so for right this second, I can't rank them above the Lions because the Lions have had their number, especially at Lambeau. They're coming off a division win with 14 wins last season. And so if the Packers want to make a statement and climb these power rankings, they have to be victorious week 1. And if they do, well, things are going to get real fun around here.
I'm tearing up, man.
Number 5, you got the Detroit Lions. That's right, 1 spot above the Packers. I gotta give it to them. They've been beating up the Packers over the past few years, and so I gotta give them the respect that they're due. And while I've definitely seen some coping on the internet, we go now to a live look at Detroit after the Micah Parsons trade.
Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. This is not a drill. This is not April Fool's Day.
God, this is going to be a fun season. But taking a look at the Lions this year, the big question mark is going to be their coordinators. You're coming in with brand new coordinators. They lost Ben Johnson and also Aaron Glenn. However, Jared Goff, even though he did struggle a couple of games last year, looking at that Houston game and of course against the Washington Commanders, that offense should still be really damn good because it is loaded with talent. Yes, they lost Frank Ragnow, who is going to be difficult to replace, but that offensive line is still really damn sturdy. You have Monty and Gibbs, which is a great 1-2 punch, and even though they lost Tim Patrick, Amon-Ra St. Brown is still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And taking a look at that defense, they definitely upgraded by getting DJ Reed, and Aiden Hutchinson returning is going to be a massive step for that pass rushing unit. When Aiden Hutchinson was on the field last season, it looked like he was going to be Defensive Player of the Year. If he's able to return from injury and replicate that success, he might be going for that trophy once again. And so as of right now, the Lions should still be contenders in the NFC, definitely within the NFC North, and I think it's really going to be a battle between the Packers and the Lions this upcoming season. We will see a preview of that week 1 live from Lambeau Field, and I can't frickin' wait. Number 4, you got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, as of recording this, they just re-signed Gabe Davis. You could do whatever you want with that, Bills fans. But the Bills having a phenomenal season last year. Josh Allen won MVP, and let's just be very honest, you're always a Super Bowl contender when you have Josh Allen.
So true. true, Bessie.
It's okay, Ravens fans, I promise. But the Bills, they were tearing things up last year. They were able to make it to the AFC Championship game, where, of course, they lost to the Chiefs yet once again. And while that is very disappointing, the Bills are looking once again to make a run, and this time, go all the way. James Cook signed a brand new contract, and he had a phenomenal year last year, constantly finding the end zone. And even with no wide receivers, like it was reported for the Bills last year, Josh Allen was still able to put up some pretty damn good stats. There's going to be expectations from Coleman to take a big sophomore jump, and the big concerns that I have with the Bills are actually on the defensive side of the ball. Their first-round corner, Hairston, is going to miss a few weeks due to injury, and taking a look at Joey Bosa, yeah, that doesn't really spark a ton of confidence in me because he has to remain healthy. With all that being said, though, I still think the Bills are a very solid football team. We're able to see how efficient that offense could be when you had a consistent running game, something that I've been begging the Bills years to do. And look, they were able to have a really good offense when they were able to pass and run the ball with ease. Who would have thought? But for the Bills, they're in a division that is very, very winnable. They are going to be favored to win the AFC East. And while I do have some concerns about their defense, they're another team that once they make the postseason, unless it's the Chiefs, they should be able to win some damn football games. Will this finally be the year where they get over the hump? I feel like we've been asking that for a while. But with Josh Allen, all things are possible.
So true, Bessie.
Number 3. You got the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, while they weren't able to bring home a ring in February, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged. So you have that to hold on to. And let's be very honest, now that the Chiefs have failed in their quest to three-peat, now all they want is chaos.
The beauty of it, the inevitability. You rise only to fall.
Yeah, they're probably still going to be a good team this year. Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for the first 6 weeks, but having him back after that is going to be a huge boost to that offense. Getting Simmons in the draft, I said this when they drafted him, if he is healthy, he is going to be a huge problem, as their offensive line woes have been very apparent over the last few seasons. And if Patrick Mahomes is able to get back to his old Patrick Mahomes ways, yeah, this team should be really damn solid. Balancing with a good run game with Isaiah Pacheco, and hell, they even brought back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They are still the team to beat when it comes to the postseason. Their defense was really damn good last year. I expect that to carry over into this season. And while the Chiefs definitely have some more competition in the AFC West, if they're able to make it to the postseason, which I think they're going to, it's just a matter of can any other team beat them? Because as of right now, besides the Bengals and the Patriots that one year, the answer has been no. And so while they did get spanked in the Super Bowl by the Eagles, I still imagine the Chiefs are going to be a pretty damn successful team this year. They have Andy Reid, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have a great defense, and while this is probably Travis Kelce's last season, I'm sure he's going to want to go out with a bang, and we'll see if they're going to be able to do just that, and if the Chiefs' reign of terror continues. Number 2, you got the Baltimore Ravens. See, this makes up for the whole MVP thing last year. The Ravens, on paper, are one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. Lamar Jackson was sensational last year. Derrick Henry is just never aging. And that offense was humming along. They had a great ground game. I really like Zay Flowers. And then looking at the defensive side of the ball, the Ravens got 2 of the best defensive players in this year's draft.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
So if Mike Green is able to get after the quarterback, and he's been looking pretty damn good in the preseason, watch out. This team is going to be scary. And of course, they also added to their secondary, not only in the draft, but also bringing in Jair Alexander. Now, Jair Alexander was expected to return to practice, as he's missed it for the majority of August because he's been dealing with long-standing health issues, which is one of the reasons why the Packers cut him. However, if Jair Alexander is healthy, he's still a very good corner, and that is a position of need for the Ravens. And so on paper, as I was saying, the Ravens should be favored to win their division. They could be the best team in the AFC. It's just about what happens when they make it to the postseason. I have a lot of faith that the Ravens can win 12, 13 games this year. It's just going to be a matter of when it gets cold in January, can they get the job done? And so right now, week 1, the Ravens are coming in at number 2, but ask me again in January. And then finally, number 1, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles. That fan base has just been reliving that Super Bowl win all offseason. And honestly, I don't blame them. They stopped the three-peat. They absolutely whooped the Chiefs. And so now heading into this year, they are still going to be favored in the NFC within their division. And I don't think anybody would be surprised if they make their way back to the Super Bowl. And while they did lose some defensive players to free agency, I think that defensive core is still really damn good. Of course, what they did in last year's draft, just drafting back-to-back phenomenal secondary players. Looking at you, DeJean and Mitchell, this team is set up for long-term success. Saquon Barkley was one of, if not the best player in the NFL last year. Jalen Hurts, when it came down to it, played really damn well. Oh, and of course, they have some really good wide receivers in A.J. Brown and in Devontae Smith. So overall, if you're an Eagles fan, I would have a lot of confidence heading into this season. I don't think you're going to start this season wanting to fire Nick Sirianni like you did last year. But this team has shown not only are they built really well on paper, but that defense and offense are able to create a balanced football team that can win championships. And who knows, if they're able to do it again this year, maybe we'll be talking about the Eagles three-peat. Also enjoy week 1 without Micah Parsons. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got the Eagles, 2 Ravens, 3 Chiefs, 4 Bills, 5 Lions, 6 Packers, 7 Commanders, 8 Buccaneers, 9 Rams, and 10 Bengals. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com, and a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. Here's to another season. And as always, go Pack Go.